A baby leopard keeps following a man for help, and the reason why leaves him completely speechless. At first, it looks like a wild animal refusing to let go, tugging, crying, refusing to stop. But then he realizes it isn't chasing him, it's leading him. What he finds deep in the forest will shake him to his core, a child trapped, a secret buried, and a danger more human than wild. Because this little leopard isn't just lost, it's protecting something its enemies would rather stay hidden forever. Now, with one life hanging in the balance, and the truth clawing its way out of the shadows, he has to decide, will he risk everything to follow where the leopard leads? What secret is this? Animal guarding, and why does saving the child mean standing against something far more dangerous than the wilderness itself? Before we dive in, say hello in the comments. I love knowing where these stories are finding a home. The autumn sun hung low in the Montana sky as Elliot Kincaid shouldered his worn leather pack, his day of marking trees for removal finally complete. His boots crunched against fallen leaves as he started down the familiar trail that would lead him home. The crisp mountain air carried the scent of pine and earth, a smell that had become as natural to him as breathing. After 15 years working these forests, he had gone perhaps a quarter mile when something caught his eye, a flash of spotted fur between the trees. Elliot blinked hard, certain his tired eyes were playing tricks on him. But there it was again, a baby leopard, no bigger than a house cat, padding along parallel to his path. Well, that's different, he muttered to himself, running a calloused hand across his stubbled chin. In all his years working these woods, he'd seen plenty of wildlife, bears, mountain lions, wolves, but never anything like this. The exotic cat didn't belong here. That much was certain. Elliot quickened his pace, hoping to leave this strange encounter behind. But the leopard cub matched his speed, darting through the underbrush. Its spotted coat gleamed in patches of late afternoon sunlight filtering through the canopy. He had almost convinced himself to ignore it when a sharp yelp pierced the forest quiet. The little leopard had circled around to stand directly in his path, its tail twitching with agitation. As Elliot tried to step around it, tiny teeth grabbed his jacket sleeve, tugging with surprising strength. "Hey now," he said, gently pulling free. "Whatever you're selling, I'm not buying." But something in the cub's intense gaze made him pause. Its yellow eyes held an almost human urgency, and its entire body trembled with nervous energy. The leopard darted a few yards ahead, then looked back at him expectantly. When Elliot didn't move, it returned to grab his sleeve again, pulling him in the same direction. "This isn't normal," Elliot muttered. Years of working in nature had taught him to trust his instincts, and right now, every one of them was telling him something was wrong. The cub's behavior was too deliberate, too focused. To be random, he checked his watch. 5:30 in the evening. There was still enough daylight left to investigate, though his practical side argued for heading straight home. The leopard yelped again, an almost plaintive sound that tugged at something deep in Elliot's chest. "All right," he said finally, adjusting his pack. "Show me what's got you so worked up." The cub's entire demeanor changed at his words. It bounded ahead, stopping every few yards to ensure Elliot was following. Its earlier desperation had transformed into purposeful movement, leading him off the main trail and into denser forest. As they moved deeper into the woods, Elliot's mind raced with possibilities. A baby leopard out here could only mean one thing. Someone was keeping exotic animals, and doing it illegally. The thought made his jaw clench. He'd seen enough of nature to know wild animals belonged in the wild, not as pets or attractions. The undergrowth grew thicker, forcing Elliot to push through branches and step over fallen logs. The leopard cub navigated the obstacles effortlessly, its spotted form weaving through the vegetation like water. Every so often it would pause, looking back with those unnervingly intelligent eyes, making sure its human companion was still on track. Elliot's forestry training kicked in as he walked, mentally marking their route and noting landmarks. Old oak with the lightning scar, the distinctive boulder shaped like a turtle's shell, the cluster of young aspens. If whatever lay ahead turned dangerous, he wanted to ensure he could find his way back. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows through the trees. The temperature was dropping, and Elliot could see his breath forming small clouds in the cooling air. Still, the cub pressed on, its determination unwavering. "Whatever this is," Elliot said softly, ducking under a low-hanging branch, "it better be worth missing dinner for." The leopard's only response was to look back once more, its eyes reflecting the fading light like twin amber flames. In that moment, Elliot realized he had crossed a threshold. This was no longer about satisfying curiosity or even helping a strange animal. Something in those eyes spoke of urgency, of need, of desperation. He was committed now, following this improbable guide into whatever situation awaited them. His mother had always said he had more heart than sense. Maybe she was right, but as he watched the determined little creature forge ahead, Elliot knew he couldn't have chosen differently. Sometimes the right path wasn't the sensible one, and sometimes the most important journeys began with the most unlikely guides. The forest grew darker around them as they pressed deeper into unknown territory, leaving the familiar trails far behind. Ahead, the leopard cub moved with increasing urgency. leading Elliot toward whatever crisis had spurred its remarkable behavior. The leopard cub's pace quickened as they pushed deeper into unfamiliar territory. The well-worn trails Elliot knew had long since disappeared, replaced by thick undergrowth and rocky terrain. His boots crunched on fallen leaves and loose stones, the sound echoing in the growing darkness. Suddenly, the cub darted forward and stopped at the edge of what appeared to be a steep drop. Its cries grew more insistent as it pawed at the ground, clearly distressed. The animal's whole body trembled with urgency. Elliot approached cautiously, aware of the unstable ground near ravine edges. As he drew closer, he heard something that made his heart skip, a faint whimper that was definitely human. "Hello," he called out, dropping to his knees to peer over the edge. "Is someone down there?" The ravine walls plunged 20 feet down to a narrow floor strewn with fallen branches and loose rocks. There, huddled against the earthen wall, was a small figure. A boy, no more than 10 years old, lay curled on his side. Even in the dimming light, Elliot could see the unnatural angle of the child's right leg. "Help!" the boy called weakly, his voice trembling. "Please help me." The leopard cub whined and paced along the edge, confirming what Elliot had begun to suspect. This was who it had been trying to lead him to all along. "I'm coming down," Elliot called, already shrugging off his backpack. "Just stay still, okay?" Years of forestry work had taught him how to navigate steep terrain. He quickly assessed the ravine wall, noting the sturdier outcroppings and stable root systems he could use for him. The descent was treacherous, but he managed it carefully, testing each foothold before putting his full weight on it. When he reached the bottom, the boy's condition became clearer. The child's face was streaked with dirt and tears, his clothes torn and muddy. His sandy hair was matted with sweat, and his freckled face was pale with shock and pain. "I'm Elliot," he said softly, kneeling beside the injured child. "Can you tell me your name, Caleb?" the boy whispered. "Caleb Durnall." "Okay, Caleb, I'm going to help you, but first I need to check your injuries. Is it just your leg that's hurt?" Caleb nodded, his wide eyes fixed on Elliot's face. "I fell," he explained, his voice barely audible. "I was running, and then I fell." Elliot's wilderness first aid training kicked in as he carefully examined the boy's leg. The break was clean, painful, but not compound. That was something to be thankful for, at least out above them. The leopard cub paced and whined, its spotted form visible against the darkening sky. "That's your friend up there, isn't it?" Elliot asked, trying to keep Caleb talking while he worked. "The one who found me?" "Yes," Caleb replied, managing a weak smile. "She always knows when I need help." Elliot pulled supplies from his pack, a first aid kit, a flashlight, an emergency blanket. His hands moved with practiced efficiency as he used straight branches and his belt to create a makeshift splint. "This is going to hurt," he warned, gently, "but I need to stabilize your leg before we can move you." Caleb bit his lip and nodded, his small hands clenching into fists. When Elliot set the leg, the boy's scream echoed off the ravine walls, sending a flock of startled birds into flight. "You're being very brave," Elliot assured him, securing the splint. "Just hang in there a little longer. Please," Caleb whispered, grabbing Elliot's sleeve. "Please don't leave me here." The desperate plea in those words made Elliot's chest tighten. There was more fear in the boy's voice than just the pain of his injury, something deeper, more haunting. "I'm not going anywhere," Elliot promised, wrapping the emergency blanket around Caleb's shoulders. "We're going to get you out of here together." The leopard cub's cry drew their attention upward. The animal had settled at the edge of the ravine, its yellow eyes reflecting the beam of Elliot's flashlight. In that moment, Elliot felt a profound sense of gratitude toward the creature. Without its persistence, without its determination to find help, this child might have spent the night alone in the ravine. "Thank you," he murmured, looking up at the cub. "You did good." Caleb's small hand found his in the growing darkness, holding on with surprising strength. "You'll really stay?" he asked again, as if afraid to believe it. "I promise," Elliot said firmly, squeezing the boy's hand. "We're going to get through this together." The climb back up proved more challenging than the descent. Elliot's boots scraped against the loose earth as he hauled himself up the ravine wall, testing each handhold carefully. The leopard cub watched his progress, pacing anxiously at the rim. When he finally pulled himself over the edge, he found he wasn't alone. A tall figure stood several yards away, his silhouette stark against the dimming forest. The man wore expensive, ranchwear-tooled boots, pressed jeans, and a leather vest that spoke of wealth rather than work. "I see you found my nephew," the man said, his voice as cold as winter wind. Elliot brushed dirt from his hands, studying the stranger. Something in the man's tone set off warning bells. "You must be Caleb's uncle, Calvin Durnall." He didn't offer his hand, his eyes hard as river stones, fixed on Elliot. "And you are?" "Elliot Kincaid. I work forestry in these parts." He gestured toward the ravine. "Your nephew's down there with a broken leg. We need to get emergency services out here." "That won't be necessary," Calvin cut in smoothly. "Nature has a way of taking care of these things." The words hung in the air like smoke. Elliot stared at Calvin, certain he must have misheard. "Sir, there's a child down there who needs medical attention. What that boy needs isn't your concern." Calvin's stance shifted, subtle but threatening. I suggest you head home and forget what you saw here. The leopard cub growled low, backing away from Calvin. Its reaction only confirmed what Elliot was beginning to understand. This wasn't negligence or indifference. This was something far more sinister. He could die if we leave him, Elliot said, his voice steady despite the anger building in his chest. Calvin's smile never reached his eyes. Accidents happen in these woods all the time. Tragic, really, but that's the way of things, isn't it? Not while I'm here? It's not. Elliot planted his feet firmly, squaring his shoulders. He might be just a forestry worker, but he wasn't about to back down. That boy needs help, and he's going to get it. You're making a mistake, Calvin said softly. You don't understand the situation. Caleb is my responsibility, my burden to bear, and I'm telling you to walk away. Your burden. Elliot's hands clenched into fists. He's a child, not cattle to be culled when inconvenient. Calvin's facade cracked slightly, showing something ugly beneath. You're a simple man, Mr. Kincaid. You don't understand the complexities of family obligations. That boy's trust fund is bleeding my ranch dry. His mother's death left me saddled with expenses I never asked for. The casual cruelty of it struck Elliot like a physical blow. This wasn't just about neglect. Calvin had deliberately left Caleb in that ravine, hoping nature would solve his financial problems. I'm calling for help, Elliot said, reaching for his phone, and then I'm reporting you to the authorities. Calvin moved with unexpected speed, closing the distance between them. I can't let you do that. His hand moved toward his belt, where Elliot glimpsed the gleam of a hunting knife. Sometimes good men need to mind their own business. The leopard cub snarled, its small frame bristling as it positioned itself between the two men. Despite its size, there was no mistaking the protective fury in its stance. Back off, Elliot warned, his voice low. You don't want to add assault to your list of crimes. They stood locked in a tense standoff, the forest eerily silent around them. From the ravine below, Caleb's voice drifted up, weak but audible. Uncle Calvin, is someone there? Something flickered across Calvin's face, annoyance perhaps, or frustration that his plan had been disrupted. He took a step back, adjusting his vest with calculated casualness. This isn't over, he said quietly. You're involving yourself in family matters you don't understand. There will be consequences. The only consequence I care about right now is saving that boy's life, Elliot replied. And if you try to stop me, I promise you'll regret it. Calvin's laugh was hollow. Brave words from a man who cuts trees for a living. Do you really think anyone will believe your word over mine? I'm Calvin Durnall. I own half this county. I think the evidence will speak for itself, Elliot said, holding his ground. Now step aside. I have a rescue to arrange. The two men stared each other down, the leopard cub still growling softly between them. Finally, Calvin took another step back, his smile turning predatory. Do what you think you must, he said. But remember, you were warned. He turned and walked away into the deepening shadows, his movements unhurried, confident. Elliot waited until Calvin's footsteps faded before letting out a shaky breath. The leopard cub pressed against his leg, its small body trembling with residual tension. He reached down to scratch behind its ears. Grateful for its presence, it's okay, he murmured, though his heart was racing. We're not leaving him down. There, not ever. The encounter had made one thing crystal clear. Caleb wasn't just trapped in a ravine, he was trapped in something far more dangerous. The cruel calculations of a man who saw him as nothing more than an obstacle to wealth. The physical rescue was only the beginning. The real fight would be protecting him from the uncle who wished him gone. Elliot's mind raced as he assessed their situation. The ravine's walls were steep but not impossible to climb with proper equipment. He had basic climbing gear in his truck, parked about half a mile away. The fading daylight meant time was critical. Hang on, Caleb, he called down. I'm going to get some equipment to pull you up safely. The boy's weak voice drifted up. Please don't leave me. I'll be right back, I promise. The leopard will stay with you. As if understanding, the cub settled at the ravine's edge, its eyes fixed on Caleb below. Elliot jogged to his truck, constantly looking over his shoulder. Calvin's threats echoed in his mind. When he reached his vehicle, he grabbed his emergency climbing rope, harness, and first aid kit. The rope was his lifeline during dangerous forestry work. He checked it religiously. Racing back, Elliot found Calvin had returned, standing uncomfortably close to the ravine's edge. The leopard cub was bristling, its small teeth bared. Still playing hero? Calvin asked, his voice dripping with mock concern. You should leave the rescue to professionals. The professionals are an hour away, Elliot replied, setting up his gear. Caleb can't wait that long. He worked quickly, securing the rope to a sturdy tree. The system was simple but effective. It would allow him to lower himself down, secure Caleb, and pull them both up. As he double-checked the knots, something caught his eye. His stomach dropped. The rope had been cut, not completely through, but enough that it would snap under any serious weight. If he hadn't noticed something wrong, Calvin asked innocently, but his eyes held a predatory gleam. Elliot's blood boiled. He had a spare rope in his kit, but now he knew he couldn't take his eyes off Calvin for a second. "You're really willing to kill your own nephew?" "Accidents happen," Calvin shrugged, especially during amateur rescue attempts. Working with deliberate care, Elliot set up the new rope system, positioning himself between Calvin and the gear. The leopard cub paced anxiously, watching Calvin's every move. "Okay, Caleb," Elliot called down. "I'm coming to get you," he began. His descent, hyper-aware of Calvin's presence above. The boy's face lit up as Elliot reached him. His leg was badly swollen, and fear had left him pale and shaking. "You came back?" he whispered. "Of course I did, buddy." Elliot secured the harness around Caleb, checking every strap twice. "We're going to get you out of here. The ascent began smoothly. Elliot kept one arm around Caleb, using his other hand to work the rope system. They were halfway up when he heard movement above. Calvin stood directly over them, his boot resting on the rope where it crossed the ravine's edge. "It would be a shame," he said softly, "if something were to slip." Before Elliot could react, Calvin's foot moved. The rope jerked violently, sending Caleb swinging toward the rocky wall. The boy screamed, his hands clutching at Elliot's jacket. In that moment, something extraordinary happened. The leopard cub, which had been watching intently, launched itself at Calvin's leg with surprising force. Its small teeth sank into his calf, throwing him off balance. Calvin howled, stumbling away from the edge. Elliot seized the opportunity. Pulling hard on the rope, they rose quickly, the boy trembling against him. When they reached the top, Elliot immediately put himself between Caleb and Calvin, who was nursing his bleeding leg. "You little beast," Calvin snarled at the leopard, which had retreated to Caleb's side, fur still bristling. "The next move you make toward this boy will be your last," Elliot warned, his voice steady despite his racing heart. The threat in Calvin's eyes confirmed what Elliot had suspected. This man wasn't just neglectful. He was actively trying to eliminate his nephew. Calvin straightened, adjusting his jacket with calculated precision. Blood seeped through his pants leg where the leopard had bitten him. "This isn't over," he said coldly. "That animal attacked me. It'll have to be put down." "Of course. And Caleb, well, he's still my legal ward. One way or another, nature will take its course." The casual menace in his voice made Elliot's skin crawl. He kept his body positioned protectively in front of Caleb and the leopard, watching as Calvin limped away into the gathering dusk. The man's departure didn't ease the tension. If anything, it heightened Elliot's sense of urgency. Calvin had shown his true colors, and they were darker than Elliot had imagined. "He really wanted me to fall," Caleb whispered, his voice shaking. "My own uncle." Elliot knelt beside the boy, checking his injured leg while keeping one eye on their surroundings. "Listen to me, Caleb. I won't let him hurt you. Either of you," he added, including the leopard cub in his promise. The small animal pressed against Caleb's side, its presence somehow both protective and seeking protection. The physical danger of the ravine had been survived, but Elliot knew this was just the beginning. Calvin's ruthlessness was now undeniable. He'd been willing to murder a child in cold blood. The man's wealth and influence made him even more dangerous. They needed help, and they needed it fast. Elliot helped Caleb settle against a fallen log, careful not to jostle the boy's injured leg. The leopard cub curled up immediately at Caleb's side, its golden eyes never leaving the path where Calvin had disappeared. "We need to rest a minute before moving," Elliot said, pulling out his first aid kit. "Let me check that leg properly." As he worked, the leopard nuzzled Caleb's hand. The boy's fingers automatically tangled in its fur, a gesture so natural it made Elliot pause. There was something different about their interaction, something that spoke of long familiarity. "She likes you," Elliot observed, watching as the cub pressed its head into Caleb's palm. Tears welled up in Caleb's eyes. "Her name is Luna," he whispered. "Mom rescued her when poachers killed her mother. We raised her in secret." Understanding dawned on Elliot. "This isn't a wild animal at all, is it?" Caleb shook his head, his voice thick with emotion. "Mom found her last spring. She was so tiny, barely alive. We kept her hidden in the old barn behind our house. Uncle Calvin, he would have sold her, or worse, if he knew." The leopard Luna rested her chin on Caleb's knee, purring softly. The sound seemed to give the boy strength to continue. "Mom was a wildlife vet," Caleb explained. "She always helped injured animals, even after Uncle Calvin took control of everything. He said it was a waste of money and time, but she didn't stop. Luna was special, though. We couldn't send her to a sanctuary because..." His voice faltered. "Because Calvin would have found out," Elliot finished gently. Caleb nodded. "Mom said some people only see dollar signs when they look at animals like Luna. She knew Uncle Calvin was one of them." "What happened to your mom, Caleb?" Elliot asked softly, sensing the weight of unspoken pain. The boy's fingers tightened in Luna's fur. "She got sick, really fast. Before she died, she made me promise to protect Luna. She said Luna would protect me too." His voice broke, "And she has. She's the only one who saw what?" "Uncle Calvin pushed me," Caleb whispered, "into the ravine. Luna was following me, like she always does. She saw everything. But who would believe a leopard?" Elliot's hand stilled on the bandage he was wrapping. "Your uncle deliberately pushed you." He said I was in the way that once I was gone, he'd get everything. The ranch, Mom's trust fund, all of it. He didn't know I heard him talking on the phone about his debts. Caleb's words tumbled out faster now, as if he'd been holding them back for too long. Luna tried to stop him, but she was too far away. After I fell, she must have gone to find help. She found you. Luna lifted her head, meeting Elliot's gaze with an intelligence that sent chills down his spine. This wasn't just a remarkable animal. She was a witness to attempted murder, a guardian angel in spotted fur. That's why she led me here, Elliot murmured. She knew exactly what she was doing. Mom always said Luna was special, Caleb said, managing a weak smile. She's all I have left of her. Uncle Calvin can't find her. He'll kill her. I know. He will. Nobody's killing anyone, Elliot said firmly. He looked at Luna with new respect. The cub returned his gaze steadily, and he could almost swear she nodded slightly. This small creature had not only saved Caleb's life by finding help, but had been watching over him all along, carrying out a dying woman's last wish. The pieces fit together now. Calvin's cold insistence on leaving Caleb, his sabotage of the rescue attempt, his threat about having Luna put down. The leopard wasn't just an inconvenience to him. She was a dangerous witness to his crimes, bonded to the very nephew he was trying to eliminate. Luna suddenly tensed, her ears swiveling toward the forest. She rose to a crouch, positioning herself between them and whatever had caught her attention. Elliot immediately became alert, remembering that Calvin was still out there, probably planning his next move. We need to get somewhere safe, he said quietly, gathering his supplies. Both of you. He looked at the unlikely pair, a wounded boy and his leopard protector, and felt the weight of responsibility settle more firmly on his shoulders. They were in this together now, united against Calvin's cruel schemes. Luna relaxed slightly, but remained watchful, her devotion to Caleb clear in every movement. She was more than just a pet or even a rescued animal. She was the embodiment of a mother's love, transformed into a guardian who had refused to abandon her charge even after death had taken her savior. Elliot knew they needed help, and fast. With trembling fingers, he pulled out his cell phone, careful to keep his movements hidden from the ridge above, where Calvin might be watching. One bar of service flickered weakly. It would have to do. He typed a quick text message to Dana Hensley, the park ranger whose territory included this section of forest. Over the years, they'd developed a quiet understanding during his forestry work, sharing concerns about wealthy landowners who thought rules didn't apply to them. Help needed urgently. Ravine off Old Creek Trail. Injured child situation, dangerous, bring backup. While waiting for a response, Elliot kept his voice low and steady for Caleb's benefit. I know someone who can help us. She's good people. The kind your mom would have trusted. Luna's ears perked up at his words, and she tilted her head as if considering his judgment. The leopard's intelligence continued to amaze him. His phone vibrated. Dana's reply was brief. On my way. 15 mins. Details. Elliot's fingers flew across the keypad. Calvin Durnell. Involved. Attempted murder of nephew. Have witness. Need medical plus law enforcement. The response came quickly. Keep him talking. Recording device ready. Getting sheriff deputy to relief flooded through Elliot. Dana understood the gravity of the situation without needing every detail spelled out. She'd always been sharp that way. Help is coming, he told Caleb softly. We just need to hold on a little longer. The boy nodded bravely, though pain lines creased his young face. Luna pressed closer to his side, offering warmth and comfort. From above, Calvin's voice carried down, getting dark soon. Kincaid, last chance to make the smart choice and walk away. And walk away, Elliot called back, careful to keep his tone neutral. Just doing what any decent person would do. Calvin, why don't you come down here and help? Show everyone what kind of uncle you really are. There was a pause, then footsteps. Calvin appeared. At the edge of the ravine, his expression calculated. You're making this more complicated than it needs to be. Accidents happen in these woods all the time. Is that what this was? Elliot asked loudly, hoping Dana's recording device would pick up Calvin's words when she arrived. An accident? Of course it was an accident, Calvin said smoothly, but his eyes were cold. Though some might say the boy was asking for trouble, wandering so close to the edge. Just like his mother was asking for trouble, spending money we didn't have on her little animal rescue projects. Caleb flinched at the mention of his mother. Luna growled low in her throat. Funny thing about accidents, Elliot continued, watching Calvin carefully, they usually don't involve someone sabotaging rescue equipment. I don't know what you're talking about. Calvin's hand moved to his jacket pocket, but I'm starting to think you might be the one having an accident if you don't wise up. The threat hung in the air. Elliot shifted slightly, positioning himself. Between Calvin and Caleb, he heard the faintest crunch of leaves. Behind Calvin, someone approaching carefully through the woods. You're really willing to hurt a child for money? Elliot asked, keeping Calvin's attention focused forward. Your own flesh and blood. That trust fund belongs to me, Calvin snarled, mask finally slipping. I built that ranch. I kept it running while my bleeding heart sister wasted money on every stray that crossed her path. Then she has the nerve to leave everything to this worthless brat. So you pushed him, Elliot said clearly. To get him out of the way? Who's going to believe that? Calvin sneered. Your word against mine? I own half the county council. You're nothing but a glorified tree trimmer. He's not alone. Dana's voice rang out as she stepped into view, her badge gleaming. And you'd be surprised how many people have been waiting for a chance to see you face justice. Calvin Durnell. Calvin spun around, reaching into his pocket, but froze at the sight of not only Dana but two sheriff's deputies emerging from the trees, weapons drawn. Hands where we can see them, one deputy ordered. This is ridiculous, Calvin blustered, but raised his hand slowly. I was just trying to help with the rescue. We have your whole confession on tape, Dana said coolly, producing a small recording device. And I'm betting once people know we're investigating, we'll find plenty more evidence of your schemes. As the deputies moved to handcuff Calvin, Dana called down to Elliot. Rescue team's right behind us with proper equipment. How's the boy? Hanging in there, Elliot replied, feeling Caleb relax slightly against him. We've got quite a story to tell you about his companion here. Dana's eyes widened as she finally spotted Luna. Is that a long story? Elliot said. But she's the reason any of us are here to tell it. Luna stood proudly, her tail held high, watching as Calvin was led away in handcuffs. In the growing dusk, spots seemed to shimmer like stars, a constellation of hope in the darkness that had nearly swallowed Caleb whole. Calvin Durnell paced through the darkening woods, his polished boots crushing twigs with deliberate force. Fury radiated from him like heat from a forest fire. His carefully constructed plans were unraveling, all because of some meddling forest worker who couldn't mind his own business. He paused, listening intently. The sound of voices drifted up from the ravine, Elliot talking softly to Caleb, probably trying to keep the boy calm. Calvin's lip curled in disgust. The boy was just like his mother, soft and useless, except as a means to access the trust fund that should have been his. Moving with surprising stealth for a man his size, Calvin circled around to the narrow trailhead that offered the only safe path down to where Elliot and Caleb were trapped. His hand brushed the cold metal in his jacket pocket. He wouldn't let them ruin everything he'd worked for. Down in the ravine, Elliot was helping Caleb sit up straighter against the rock wall. The rescue team will be here soon, he assured the boy. Just hold on a little longer. I'm trying. Caleb, whispered, his face pale with pain. Luna, the leopard, pressed closer to his side, her warm presence offering comfort. Let's get you positioned better for when they arrive, Elliot said, starting to stand. We should move closer to the trail. Nobody's moving anywhere. Calvin's voice cut through the growing darkness. He stood blocking the trailhead, one hand still in his pocket, except maybe into deeper trouble. Elliot instinctively shifted to shield Caleb. It's over, Calvin. Dana's already on her way with help. Nothing's over until I say it is. Calvin withdrew his hand, revealing a hunting knife that gleamed dully in the fading light. You really should have walked away when I gave you the chance. Kincaid? Luna's muscles tensed, a low growl rumbling in her chest. Calvin laughed coldly. That oversized cat doesn't scare me. One wrong move and neither of you will make it out of this ravine. Think about what you're doing, Elliot said carefully, eyes fixed on the knife. You're just making things worse for yourself. Worse. Calvin's voice rose sharply. I've spent 20 years building this ranch into something worth having, then my bleeding heart sister dies and leaves everything to this worthless brat. He gestured at Caleb with the knife. The money, the land, all of it should have been mine. So you tried to kill him, Elliot said, keeping his voice steady despite the rage he felt. Your own nephew. I gave him a chance to fall in line, Calvin snarled. But he's just like his mother, weak, defiant, always hiding things from me, like that damn leopard. Well, accidents happen all the time in these woods. 2 more won't raise too many questions. He took a step forward, knife extended. Luna's growl deepened, her teeth bared in warning. You won't get away with this, Elliot said, desperately trying to buy time. People will know what happened. Who's going to tell them? Calvin's eyes were wild now, his careful facade cracking, completely. That meddling ranger. She'll never find you down here. And once I'm done, that cat of yours will make a convenient scapegoat. Wild animal attack, tragic, but not uncommon. Caleb whimpered, pressing closer to Luna. The sound seemed to enrage Calvin further. Always crying, always weak, he spat. Just like your mother. She cried too. You know, right before her accident with those brake lines. The confession hung in the air like poison. Elliot felt Caleb trembling behind him. You killed her, the boy whispered. You killed my mom. She left me no choice, Calvin shouted, his control finally shattering completely. She was going to expose everything. The debts, the missing money, all of it. I couldn't let her ruin everything I'd built. He lunged forward suddenly, knife slashing through the air where Elliot had been standing a moment before. Elliot barely managed to dodge, pushing Caleb further behind him. Luna sprang to her feet, fur bristling. But in the narrow confines of the ravine, she couldn't maneuver without risking Caleb. Stay back, Calvin warned, brandishing the knife. Or I'll gut that cat of yours first. Then you can watch while I finish what I started with the boy. The knife glinted as Calvin advanced, forcing Elliot and Caleb to retreat until their backs pressed against the ravine wall. There was nowhere left to go. Luna crouched, preparing to spring despite the danger, while Calvin's savage grin spread wider. "Any last words?" he sneered, raising the knife. The knife slashed downward. Elliot lurched sideways, feeling the blade tear through his jacket sleeve. He crashed into Calvin's legs, sending them both sprawling onto the rocky ground. The knife skittered away into the shadows. Calvin's fist caught Elliot in the jaw, snapping his head back. Stars exploded behind his eyes as another blow landed. Through the pain, Elliot could hear Caleb crying out in terror. "I'll kill you all," Calvin roared, his carefully maintained facade completely shattered. His hands found Elliot's throat, squeezing with desperate strength. "You should have minded your own business." Elliot clawed at the iron grip, crushing his windpipe. Black spots danced at the edges of his vision. He thrashed, trying to break free, but Calvin's weight pinned him down. The world started to dim. "Uncle Calvin, stop," Caleb screamed. "Please." Calvin's head snapped toward the sound. His grip loosened just enough for Elliot to gulp a precious breath of air. Through blurry eyes, he saw Calvin release his throat and lunge toward Caleb. "You're next, you little brat." Calvin grabbed Caleb's arm, yanking him toward the steeper edge of the ravine. The boy's broken leg dragged uselessly as he struggled. "No." Elliot's voice was a hoarse croak. He tried to stand but staggered, still dizzy from the choking. Luna snarled, but Calvin swung Caleb in front of him like a shield. "Back off, cat. One step closer, and I'll throw him over. And I'll throw him over." Caleb sobbed in pain and fear as Calvin dragged him closer to the edge. Loose rocks skittered down into the darkness below. The leopard paced in agitation, muscles coiled tight, searching for an opening. "Let him go." Elliot stumbled forward, his throat burning. "He's just a child. He's my ticket to everything." Calvin's eyes were wild, his composed manner completely gone. "Without him, I lose it all. The money, the land, everything." He yanked Caleb closer to the edge. "If I can't have it, no one will." Caleb's feet slipped on the loose gravel. He screamed as Calvin dangled him partway over the edge, holding him by one arm. The drop below was easily 40 feet onto jagged rocks. "Please," Caleb whimpered. "Uncle Calvin, please don't." "Shut up." Calvin shook him roughly. "Just like your mother, always begging, always weak." The pure hatred in Calvin's voice seemed to trigger something in Luna. With an ear-splitting roar, she launched herself through the air. Her powerful body slammed into Calvin's back, claws raking deep furrows through his jacket and into flesh. Calvin howled in pain and rage. His grip on Caleb loosened. The boy teetered on the edge for one heart-stopping moment, before falling backward onto safer ground. Luna's weight drove Calvin to his knees as she continued her savage attack. Elliot surged forward, tackling Calvin away from the edge. They rolled across the ground, Calvin's blood making everything slick. The bigger man fought like a cornered animal, landing several brutal punches, but Elliot refused to let go. "It's over." Elliot gasped, pinning Calvin's arms. "You've lost?" "Never." Calvin bucked and thrashed. His elbow caught Elliot's temple, dazing him. Calvin scrambled toward where the knife had fallen, fingers closing around the handle. Luna's jaws clamped onto his wrist before he could raise the blade. Calvin screamed as sharp teeth punctured flesh. The knife dropped from nerveless fingers. "Freeze. Nobody move." Dana's voice cracked like a whip through the ravine. Flashlight beams swept the scene as she and two other rangers appeared on the trail, weapons drawn. "Thank God." Elliot sagged in relief, still keeping his weight on Calvin's legs. Blood from his split lip dripped onto the rocks below. "Calvin Durnall, you're under arrest," Dana announced, quickly moving to secure him. "We heard every word of your confession about your sister's death. It's really over this time." Calvin went limp, the fight finally draining out of him. As Dana cuffed him, he stared at the blood coating his hands, his own, and Elliot's. "Everything I built," he whispered. "All of it, gone. You did this to yourself," Elliot said, his voice rough from the choking. He crawled over to where Caleb lay trembling. "Are you okay, buddy?" Caleb nodded weakly. Luna pressed against his side, still growling softly at Calvin. The boy buried his face in her fur, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. "The medical team is right behind us," Dana said, helping Elliot sit up. "Just hold on a few more minutes." Elliot wrapped an arm around Caleb's shoulders, holding him close as Calvin was led away in handcuffs. The leopard stayed pressed protectively against them both, her golden eyes never leaving Calvin until he disappeared up the trail. Dana knelt beside Calvin, who sat sullenly on a flat rock while one of the other rangers treated the deep scratches. On his back, she pulled out her phone and began scrolling through photos. "Let's review what we have here, Mr. Durnall," she said, her voice professionally detached. "Multiple attempts to sabotage rescue equipment." She held up images of the frayed, rope edges clearly cut with a knife. "Our forensics team will match these to your blade." Calvin stared straight ahead, jaw clenched. "We have video footage from my body camera showing you threatening your nephew's life," Dana continued. "An audio of you confessing to wanting him, gone for financial gain. The district attorney will be particularly interested in that." The medical team had arrived, carefully splinting Caleb's leg and checking him for other injuries. The boy wouldn't let go of Elliot's hand, even as the paramedics worked. "Tell them what happened," Elliot encouraged gently. "It's safe now." Caleb's voice trembled but grew stronger as he spoke. After Mom died, Uncle Calvin changed. He started locking me in my room at night, said I was wasting his money. He wiped his eyes. Today, he followed me into the woods. I tried to run, but he caught up. When I struggled, Caleb's breath hitched. He pushed me into the ravine. You lying little. Calvin lunged forward but was instantly restrained by the rangers. Luna's warning growl made him sink back down. The trust fund, Dana said. That's what this was about, wasn't it? Your sister left everything to Caleb, with you as guardian, until he turns 18. But you've been bleeding it dry with bad investments. You don't understand, Calvin spat. That money was supposed to be mine. Sarah had no right. Your sister had every right to protect her son. Elliot cut in, his voice hard. You proved exactly why she needed to. Dana nodded to the rangers. Get him out of here. The sheriff is waiting at the station. As they led Calvin away, she turned to Caleb with gentler eyes. You're very brave, young man. Your mom would be proud. Caleb pressed closer to Elliot's side. Luna curled protectively around them both. What happens now? He asked in a small voice. First, we get your leg properly treated, Dana said. Then we'll contact child services. They'll find you a safe place to stay while this all gets sorted out. Could I stay with Elliot? Caleb looked up hopefully. Just until they decide. Elliot's heart clenched at the trust in those eyes. He met Dana's gaze questioningly. She smiled. We'll need to do some paperwork, but I don't see why not. Elliot's one of the most reliable people I know. She glanced at Luna. Though we might need to make some special arrangements for your four-legged guardian. She saved my life, Caleb said fiercely. Both our lives. That she did, Elliot agreed, scratching behind Luna's ears. The leopard purred, still maintaining her protective position. As the paramedics prepared to transport Caleb, Dana pulled Elliot aside. The evidence against Calvin is solid. Between the physical proof, your testimony, and what we recorded today, he's looking at serious time. She squeezed his shoulder. You did good, Elliot. Real good. Elliot watched as Caleb was carefully lifted onto a stretcher, Luna padding alongside. The boy's face was tired but peaceful, perhaps the first real peace he'd known in months. I just did what anyone would do, Elliot said quietly. Dana shook her head. No, you did what a true protector would do. That boy's alive because you listened to your heart, instead of walking away, she smiled. Now come on, let's get you both to the hospital. Something tells me Caleb's going to need his guardian angel close by. The word guardian echoed in Elliot's mind as he followed the stretcher. He'd started this day just wanting to get home, and now he had a whole new purpose. One small hand reached out from the stretcher, and Elliot took it without hesitation. Some paths, he realized, lead exactly where you're meant to be. As the chaos settled, Caleb sat propped against a fallen log. His newly splinted legs stretched out carefully before him. The medical team had given him something for the pain, and his eyes were clearer now, focused intently on Elliot, who sat beside him. I tried telling other people before, Caleb said quietly, his voice trembling. Teachers, neighbors, they all just looked away. But you, he gripped Elliot's sleeve. You actually listened. You believed me right away. Elliot's weathered face softened. Sometimes it just takes one person to see the truth. Kid. Luna stretched out beside them, her spotted coat gleaming in the late afternoon sun. She'd refused to leave Caleb's side, maintaining her vigil even after the danger had passed. The bond between them was obvious, a legacy of love from Caleb's mother that had saved his life. Dana approached, clipboard tucked under her arm. You know, Elliot, in all my years as a ranger, I've never seen anything quite like what you did today. She smiled warmly. Most people would have walked away, especially facing someone like Calvin. But you saw it through, no matter the cost. Just did what needed doing, Elliot mumbled, uncomfortable with the praise. That's exactly what makes it special, Dana insisted. You didn't do it for recognition. You did it because it was right. She paused, considering. We could use someone like you working with our youth wilderness program. Someone who understands both the forest and the importance of standing up for others. Color rose in Elliot's cheeks. He'd spent so long being the quiet woodsman, the one people overlooked, yet here he was, surrounded by respect and gratitude, having made a real difference in someone's life. Caleb leaned against his shoulder, exhaustion evident but peace finally settling on his young face. Will you visit me? After everything's sorted, out with the new guardian. Count on it, Elliot replied, surprised by how much he meant it. The day's events had changed him in ways he was only beginning to understand. He wasn't just the solitary forest worker anymore. He'd become someone who could make a stand, who could protect those who needed it most. Luna raised her head, meeting Elliot's gaze with those knowing golden eyes. She'd chosen well when she'd sought him out on that forest path, recognizing something in him that he hadn't yet seen in himself. The overlooked woodsman had become a hero, not through grand gestures, but through simple, unwavering courage. If this ending felt like it was written for you, subscribe and join me tomorrow for another story that might feel the same.